98 FM Sport.
Now, Derek Ryan, we have a massive budget here and That's What I Call Sport. So this week we sent you all the way to North Korea to interview Kim Jong-un himself about his views on Bray Wanderers. And we are joking because it is a joke, and I make no apologies for saying it. Talk us through the first Bray Wanderers statement released by the new chairman, Jerry Mulvey, earlier in the week. It was at 11:34am on Thursday, saying that they are now officially financially stable, which was, we thought, the headline until we read on.
Yeah, Donald Trump was tweeting about North Korea last night, but he has nothing on Jerry Mulvey, the chairman of Bray Wanderers. Some of the quotes out of this statement during the week from him were just hilarious. Wicklow County Council has unfortunately now attained the accolade of being the North Korea of Ireland for business, he says. But like all suppressed people, they eventually revolt. A revolution of football is going to start at Bray, and Bray Wanderers will be the leaders, not just for Wicklow, but for Ireland in this revolt.
We are going to give Wicklow and Ireland something to be proud of, where there will be an academy to rival the best in the world. Our vision, and rest assured, we will execute the delivery of our vision in a world-class football academy to rival the best in the world. I would like to say these two statements, I don't know how many thousand words are in each of them, but they haven't once mentioned their partner club, St Joseph's Boys. They're now in their underage section, they're 15, 17, 19, called St Joseph's Bray. Yeah. Not one mention of them. They're
international now, Jamie. They're kind of gone beyond St Joseph's Boys. They're gone into North Korea, international politics. But when you operate in North Korea, they say, these options are difficult to achieve, but we will achieve it. Loads more quotes. Talks about Conor McGregor in it as well. It's just a bit mad.
He's been mentioning this man quite a lot.
I said it last year. We're not here just to take part. We're here to take over.
Yeah, Bray Wanderers here to take over. They released another statement then later in the weekend. In 1916, some brave Irish men and women stood up for the cause of Irish freedom. Oppression suffered at the Irish hands of the British Army. They stood up for what they believed in, and in doing so they were initially ridiculed, taunted and laughed at by the very people for whom they were giving their lives to protect. How can you compare Bray Wanderers Football Club to the heroes of 1916? How can you do that?
And we thought they were coming back to Ireland, but yet again he went back to North Korea and Kim Jong-un. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, with the best propaganda machine, couldn't undo the sheer negative connotation associated with Wicklow for business, he says.
Can I finally read the last paragraph of the statement saying, we have taken the very unorthodox approach to bring this forward, but we are now the most talked about topic in Irish football. Have we not achieved publicity never felt by an Irish League of Ireland team before? There are doubters to our plans, but rest assured we are going to give the club over to the trust, because they're going to try and sell the stadium, to be owned by the people of Wicklow as part of the construction of the new facilities.
I would like to
say
but there you go.
That Dundalk in the Europa League last year is good publicity, is real publicity. Shamrock Rovers a few years ago, Sean Maguire moving over to Preston, all the Irish lads from the League of Ireland playing in the Ireland senior team. Not this garbage.
Yeah, talking about North Korea all the time. The 1916 Rising, I just kind of felt was a bit tasteless as well.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
And it is embarrassing. And last night I caught up with Bray midfielder John Sullivan. He was just back from the cinema, and I began by saying hello.
Hey Jay, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure. Yeah, I'm fine. Just back from the cinema. Went to see Dunkirk. Fantastic movie.
Yes, myself and John having this chat on Saturday evening. And John, we'll leave the movie reviews for another time. I am hoping to go and see Dunkirk at some time soon. But the news and the headlines coming out of your club, Bray Wanderers, have been fairly box office over the last number of weeks. 4 league defeats in a row. Statements from the club. The previous chairman, Dennis O'Connor, has left. Jerry Mulvey has taken over as interim chairman. He released a statement during the week. The club released another statement. They've had the pitch in the Carlisle grounds being used as a car park last weekend for the Bray Air Show. So very simply, John, what is life currently like as a Bray Wanderers player?
Yeah, the start of the season was amazing. Like, it was just an uphill roller coaster. It was fantastic. And when I say roller coaster, I mean there's always a downside to it. And the last couple of weeks, we've hit it. And the statements the last couple of weeks, they're not pleasing to read. The chairman resigning, new chairman coming in, having a clue what the difference is, to be honest. And the last 4 defeats for us doesn't help the situation. So, as a player, like with Bray, heads all over the place at the moment, and you're trying your best to be as positive as you can, in football and outside of football, which is quite difficult at this moment in time.
Yeah, John, before we talk about the statements and your views on the statements and money and issues off the pitch, what's it actually been like to continue to try and train and play at the level you guys had been in the last number of weeks. Like your manager Harry Kenny seemed very downbeat after the match against St. Pat's, the 3-1 defeat last Friday. He did admit that he felt it was very difficult to keep the players motivated and looked like to keep himself motivated, and the results unfortunately seem to back that up, that 4 defeats in a row from a team chasing Europe now to a team that will do very well to get into Europe. Just what's it actually been like to try and keep the show on the road from a playing and training point of view with all this stuff in the background and doubts in your own heads over if you're going to be paid at the end of the month?
Yeah, the motivation, it's not 100%, to be honest. It was when a statement came out at first, because we just played Dundalk. But unfortunately for us, we had a game rearranged. We were down to play Rovers that following Sunday, because he would have been in Europe, but it rearranged, therefore we had no game. So all we had then was time to think, which is what you don't want as a person. And like anything, the more you think about situations, the worse it becomes in your head. And unfortunately, it became worse inside and outside, which just makes motivation deflate, and it then affects performances. As you can see, the past couple of games, we haven't won.
Yeah, I'm sure, John, motivation very difficult at the moment. What's the very latest from your point of view as a player as to where things are with the players and the staff, the coach Liam O'Brien and the manager Harry Kenny? I know Stephen Bradley said on Friday night that Shamrock Rovers had made 2 bids for Aaron Green. They were still trying to sign him. Of course, the deadline for transfers in the League of Ireland is tomorrow, Monday of next week. We understand a lot of players did try to get out, put themselves on the transfer list by the PFAI. But I suppose, John, once you're paid, Bray are honouring your contracts, you've got to stay put and remain as Bray Wanderers players and try and do as professional a job as you can. But just where are things at the current moment?
Well, at the moment, we're 4 defeats in a row. The clubs have been on the green and they've been on to a few other players. Like you said, the club has paid us and we're contracted to the club, to which we're all happy to be here once the assurances are made and the financial side of it is secure, to be honest. I don't think any player will leave. But the last couple of weeks, it's all up in the air. So now players are thinking of not just themselves, but their families. So if they can seek employment elsewhere, as you would yourself, you'd go for it. We have been paid up to date with the club, but it's about next month onwards. Will we get paid? We don't know. So, of course, some of the players are trying to get out of the transfer window if they can by Monday, like you said. But the other question is, will the club let them? I don't know. But if the reassurance is made financially before then, nobody will even want to leave. Like I said, everyone's happy to be here. It's just the financial side of it, and not just for us as players, but families. That's the security we're looking for.
John, the statements that were released have had a huge amount of interest online. Bray claiming it's the most interest that there's ever been in an Irish football club. I would argue that the interest has come from Dundalk in Europe last year, for example. Shamrock Rovers in Europe a number of years ago. And the good things that our teams are doing on the football pitch, interest like this, about statements like this, in my opinion, is not good interest, and everybody's eyes are now on Bray Wanderers. What did you make of the 2 statements released this week? The first one signed by Jerry Mulvey, the second one not signed by Jerry Mulvey. Both came from one of the official Bray Wanderers email addresses. So just talk me through your own views on the statements. North Korea, Donald Trump, Conor McGregor, Kim Jong-un, etc., etc. Words you would never normally associate with a League of Ireland football club.
Unfortunately, we are in the news and the media for, I wouldn't say negative reasons, but they're not footballing reasons. And with the 2 statements, I don't believe that Jerry Mulvey was behind them. As I know Jerry, I've spoke to him numerous of occasions at games, on the bus, etc. I don't think it's something he would do, to be honest. I don't know who was behind it. But whatever their, objective was to get attention, they've gotten it from the whole world. And it's not from a positive view.
You're not the first person to suggest, either on social media or just in general discussions around the League of Ireland circles, that someone else or other people may be behind these statements. The first statement that was released at half-time of one of the games recently was written by the then chairman, O'Connor himself. Is it possible he's still involved behind the scenes? Is he still around? Could he be someone who is writing these statements, or is at least pushing the buttons of whoever is? And having resigned for personal reasons, as he said, if he is still involved behind the scenes, it would raise questions as to why he's not why he's not putting his name to things.
Well, as far as I know, the then chairman Dennis O'Connor, he had got shares within the club. Would he have just walked up and left him there? I doubt it. So I'd imagine he's still behind the scenes. Your guess is as good as mine, Jamie. Like I said, we just told him to train. We see news on Twitter. That's where we as players hear things, or through the grapevine, like yourself. I haven't really got a clue what's going on in the background. Like I said, I just see it on Twitter.
Yes, John, and of course the grapevine is in overdrive with these statements at the moment. A final two questions. Reports on Twitter overnight and yesterday suggesting that the head coach, the manager, Harry Kenny, had resigned or is about to resign. He certainly did look like a very downbeat man after the St. Pat's match in front of the TV cameras last Friday. I spoke to him briefly in FAI HQ in Abbottstown last week at an under-19 Ireland match and just asked him how were things, and he just said, they're grand. And I said, I'm sure things will work out. And he said, I'm not too sure about that, or something along those lines. Is he still your manager currently, and do you expect him to be the manager beyond next week? Because if he leaves, that will be even worse for the players, because I know he's been behind you guys every step of the way in this and has done a very good job since he's taken over the job as well.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. If he finds it hard to do his job, of course, go elsewhere, as I'd imagine anyone would. But I'd like him to stick around. I'd like all the players to stick around. Whether we get paid or not, that's another story. But our hopes now for the future is just train hard, prepare right for the next couple of games, win as many games as we can, creep back up that table to where we were. Get in Europe for Bray next year, fantastic achievement from where we came from. Will we be there? I couldn't tell you that. Hopefully we do enough for Bray Wanderers, for ourselves, in the shorts every Friday night to get clubs for next year. And I'd imagine that's not just my aim, but the rest of the players' aim also.
98 FM's Now That's What I Call Sport.
Back live this Sunday morning from 9.
98 FM.